Hi everybody, I'm really excited to have Marianne O'Hagan here, one of my favourite astrologers. If you've read any of the Midlife Career Rescue books, you'll know that I've shared her story of how astrology gave her purpose, actually gave her a will to live. It told her that everybody has a star sign and has something worthy. That astrology, Marianne's a big believer in the power of astrology to give you guidance during times of upset or uncertainty, just to, we are influenced of course by the planets and many of us think we're not. So we're going to dive deeper in today and look at just how astrology, or knowing how your stress triggers or anxiety triggers can be prompted but also alleviated by your awareness of your astrological profile, and perhaps even the profile of others, because you may be a stress trigger for them or they for you. And it's a timely chat today because recently I read an article. I mean, we all know it, so many people we know suffer from anxiety, but there was a really interesting article in Porter's and magazine, and it's talking about high anxiety. It's replaced stress as the modern malaise, with ever-increasing numbers of women particularly falling victim, but not just women. And experts are calling it a global pandemic. So, that's serious stuff. So let's talk with Marianne and see how perhaps we can regain some control. Welcome, Marianne, to the Cassandra Gaisford Show.
Thank you very much, Cassandra, for having me on your show.
It's always a pleasure to connect.
Quite correct in everything that you have said, because it is a pandemic. I mean, you think of the world today, and we're all stressed in one way or another, but each of us handles stress in a very different way, and some of us are strong in certain areas and others are weak in certain areas, all depending on the sun sign, but we're all weak in a specific area, our sun sign area. And so in astrology, before I go into the anxiety and stress of each sun sign of the zodiac, the sun in fact represents your life path and your conscious awareness of that life path. It could be karmic, but it's your life path. And as you strive to achieve the goals you've set before you, if you don't achieve them, anxiety and stress sets in.
Okay.
And
so just going back, you're talking about our sun signs. So if I'm Libra, that's my sun sign. Does that mean the sun was in Libra when I was born?
Well, if you're a Librian, for instance, I've got this all, I'm going to go over every sign.
Yes.
The most important thing for a Librian is friendship and partnership, and how they present, but they don't like unfairness, and they're all trying to mediate. And so if they are involved in an environment where there's arguments and aggression, they try to mediate that. And if it continues, then stress rises, and that's where their weakness is. Whereas another sign might think, get on with it. But Libra, it won't do that. So I'm trying to point out the very differences, all the differences between each sign, so that when you hear everything I say, where your weaknesses are, where in fact you don't, because you're computerized, it's not quite right, but your conscious awareness is that this is your area, your Achilles heel, where you don't cope quite so well.
So you're saying, you're going to go through each of the signs, but essentially you're saying when that thing that's really important to you, unique to your sign, and everyone knows, Librans love harmony. So when something's unique to your sign and it's a goal that you have, which of course is to have harmony, that's going to trigger anxiety or stress for you when that's conflicted.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Yep, great.
Okay, and so here we go then, really, what is anxiety? Well, I say, and this is just from my experience, anxiety is when everything gets on top of you and you lose control. It's as if you're being controlled by an outside force. You've lost your control. And I think everybody does, actually, when they feel they are failing, they tend to judge themselves, and then that undermines them. They're undermining, in fact, themselves. And it's where their health and well-being then can be affected. the minute you lose your confidence, the minute you feel you're being controlled and you can't do anything about it and it's taking you down, you do point where anxiety and stress will step in. And so, well, what is anxiety? Well, I think it's quite a serious disorder, as you've said, a pandemic nation worldwide, and that you shouldn't really ignore it, and there's a lot you can do about it. And the stress triggers in your sun sign can be of considerable benefit to you in understanding the points of stress personal to you. Now, if you identify with any of the following that I'm going to now read out, they just won't go away, but you'd be suffering from an anxiety disorder. If, for instance, are constantly tense, worried, and on edge, or does your anxiety interfere with your work, school, or family responsibilities, or do you have irrational fears which you cannot control, or do you believe that something bad will happen if certain things aren't done in a certain way, or do you avoid situations or activities because they cause anxiety, or do you experience sudden, and this is a very common one, I've noticed in recent years, and my clientele, this is a big one. Do you experience unexpected palpitations, panic attacks? This is a big one, where there's a thing in my day, but it's a pandemic. People experience panic attacks. It's just a big one.
Yeah, physical kind of meltdown, really, isn't it? That kind of, you know.
I don't know. I to be honest, I haven't had a panic attack, but I know so many people that have, that it's out of the blue, they say, and suddenly they're in a grip of panic and they freeze, and it's not for long, but they have techniques where they can, in fact, overcome this by breathing slowly, relaxing, it's all right, and that will be certainly all right. But it's so common now that you do get panic attacks, really, and I think it's really in the younger generations. You're in company. There's a lot of people that do.
Yes.
But each sign of the zodiac, of course, has a different character. And so, for instance, we'll start with Aries, and Aries is a sign where they're dynamic people, you know, until their energy runs out. And when their energy runs out, they get stressed. Now, they should remember they're not superheroes, and no one expects them to save the world. They are sensitive, and they should take time out to relax. Aries like action. My father was an Arian, and I can vouch for that. He liked things done this minute, now, do it.
Yes, mine too.
Which is a little bit like slowly goes. Anyway, Aries likes to take action. They take action. They're proactive. And they do not like being stopped in their tracks or having the wind taken out of their sails. Now, burdening them with responsibilities of pointless chores and mounds of paperwork will frustrate them. Aries are too hard on themselves, and they believe the world would stop without them. They set out and they set their goals too high, and they work too hard to achieve them. And when they don't, then they get disappointed when things not turn out the way they should, or the Arian expected it to turn out. And this will lead to overwhelming feelings of stress. Now, the triggers for the Arian are when Aries, now this is their proactivity, their I want this done now syndrome. When Aries comes up with an idea and others don't pick up on it immediately, they get frustrated. Right. So then, eventually, when others do pick up on their idea, then the Arian will tend to put too much pressure on themselves to perform to the highest possible standard, which will cause anxiety and stress, because they think they're the only ones that can get this right. I want it done now, my way, and my way is the only way. But that is stress-inducing.
Well, I feel stressed just listening to it.
Much myself, but they get things done.
Yes,
really
yeah.
Give them credit, of course I do. Aries are prone to headaches, migraines, because Aries rules the zodiac all the sun signs rule a different area of the body, and
right.
Aries rules the head, the face, the facial bones, the brain and blood vessels of the brain. So when they get really tense, they'll usually get a headache.
Oh, interesting.
And it's a sign that they are putting too much pressure on themselves, trying to do too much at one time, and trying to do it to the best possible ability without patience, going like, a bull and trying to get it done. And so Aries should learn to chill out, calm down. Is it really that important? Because what will stress them the most? Now, we come to the next time, Taurus. Now,
It's you.
yes, this is me, and it really is me too, so I'm revealing plenty. But Taurus wants to be seen as fully competent.
You're doing very well today, Marianne.
Thank you very much, because I'm hey, I'm psychic too. Anyway, I like to appear, and Taurus indeed, not just me, we like to appear, or we like to be fully competent. So we take our time to do things right the first time. And the ultimate source of stress would be then failure. And Taurus needs order in their lives. And when they do not have order, they get anxious.
Oh, right.
They like to please people by nature. And if they feel they haven't, they will feel inwardly anxious. They should stop doubting themselves when they fail to please others, and instead they should focus on themselves and their own self-needs, which is the area of that sun path of finance and security in general. And stress triggers for Taurus is, and this happened to me, and I can vouch for it, but it's true, if you spend their money, eat their food, borrow it up and don't return it, or change objects around their house when they're not, or simply move everything a few inches from its normal place,
Yes.
they will become anxious and stressed.
Yes.
Whereas other signs would think, well, they wouldn't become so anxious because money or security, and this is another area of stress for all of us, but you've got rates, you've got mortgages, you've got electricity bills, you've got food bills, and by the time, and then the food trolleys in the supermarkets, Taurus sees all this, got a calculating mind. I work out to the last cent how much things are going to cost me, and I'll get the best bargain, because I am very conscious of how much I get for money, which is not greed, it's my life path. So I don't blame myself, I blame upstairs.
Yes.
Okay, that's Taurus, and I'm sure many Taurians can relate to that. Now, Gemini is probably one of the most restless sign. Now, Gemini don't suffer fools easily, and they feel stressed when people are being stupid and boring. And it is vital for Gemini to remember that others need time to breathe between sentences, and they should realise or exercise patience instead of getting wound up and stressed in waiting for the next word to come out, or more importantly, the end of the story if it's boring. Gemini tends to think too much and turn little problems into big ones, which compounds their stress levels, because it's a mutable sign, it's a thinking sign. Now, they're highly mentally active, and they have trouble controlling their frustration when they are trying to solve problems that have built up. If they learn to ask for help in problem solving or share their problems, their stress levels would be reduced. The stress triggers for Gemini, now if you bore them to tears with boring monologues about your emotional life, or completely ignore them, or perhaps monopolise them at social gatherings so they can't circulate and talk to other people, they will become anxious and stressed. They are people that have to work their way. They're not like Aries, but they're free spirits, and they like to be free. They don't like to be chained to anything. The minute chaining sets in, the stress levels go up.
Right.
And so much chaining will actually, in the end, lead to anxiety and stress, whereby they might have to take a few nerve tablets. But, you know, these are the areas Gemini needs to be free to come and go when it's to.
So they'd find it pretty hard in a cubicle kind of 9-to-5 job, wouldn't they? Unless, you know, they've got a lot of freedom to move around.
Unless they're walking around, or I don't know, Harriers running a race, but they do need the freedom, I think, to be able to leave the office desk and go out when they like and get in the car. They love driving. Get in the car, drive away. And if you take that away from them and they get boxed up, you know, in some room, and they're having to ask, is it all right if I leave the room now? They go crazy. And that stress level that builds up starts controlling them. This is the point I'm trying to make. Once stress level, like authority says, sorry, you've got to sit at that desk all day, and you're not allowed a morning tea break or lunch, they will go, they'll leave, they will leave. They can't handle that. The stress levels, the anxiety goes up. And then they might have the odd panic attack, you see, and they won't know why. Where did that come from? You know? And that in itself, I think, is quite debilitating when you don't understand quite why you're having an attack of some kind.
Well, that's where this is interesting, isn't it? Because you can start to think, gosh, you know, what value, because a lot of what you're talking about are value, the value of variety, the value of freedom, the value of order. When your values are conflicted, that you can go, oh, hang on, what's triggering this for me, and what can I do about it? So awareness, isn't it? That's where astrology is fantastic.
The mere fact that you're saying, ooh, what is this? What can I do about it? When you're that it's controlling you. And the thing is, the trick is you gain control.
Yeah.
You know, you start gaining control, you not have a panic attack. But in this world, it's hard to gain. For me, the Taurian, I find the singular most annoying aspect now of my life is that the rates go up, the electricity goes, everything's going up. And I could go and throttle, you know, the Minister of Finance all over.
Yes, yeah. So even with awareness, there's still, you know, you still can't control these triggers, but you can control your reaction a little bit so you don't have a panic attack.
It's like I was having a discussion with Robert. He's my husband, he's a Cancerian, next sign, but I was having a conversation with him. He worries all the time about what people think of him. Now,
yes.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm trying to give you the differences.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the dear Cancerians, because they're often, you know, they're said to, you know, have this hard exterior, but underneath this kind of very vulnerable aspect to themselves. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. So here we go to Cancer then. So Cancer rules the chest, the breast. Robert hasn't got any breasts, never mind about that. But the ribs, the skin, he gets dermatitis, and the gastric and digestive system. Now, this is what stresses them out. Not feeling secure stresses Cancers out so very much. When they feel defeated, they tend to engage in emotional outbursts, being on the one side, or they bury their feelings behind a wall of self-protectionism. And to a degree then, that makes them appear to be moody. Learn to breathe deeply and know that they are secure within themselves. Cancers are anxious by nature. They are meticulous perfectionists who have trouble recognising or handling mistakes, theirs or others. They can't stand criticism, and also they tend to take things personally. They also worry too much about other people's opinions. Strive to provide security for the family and to be the very best that they can, but they can feel, when they have failed their loved ones, very, very anxious and stressed. Stress for Cancer, this has got a bit of humour in it, but I had to put this in because it's Robert. If you insult their mothers, criticise their homes, or warn them they might lose their jobs, or that a highway is going to be built to their house. They will become anxious and stressed because to a Cancer, the roof over my head is the security. It rules the home security. And if they feel they're going to lose their job, that is so stressful because that's providing for the home and family. And so there are areas in the Cancer psychology that can bring up stress levels. Now, we go on to the sign of Leo. Now, Leo rules the heart, the mind, and the spine, the back. And so if they get really tense, and they can the shoulders, but they often get backache. Now Leo, not being in command is very stressful for the Leo. If things do not really turn out the way they want them to, it affects their nerves. They like to be acknowledged, and especially when they're doing something very well in their estimation. But Leo is a spirited, strong-willed, warm and affectionate sign, and being respected by others is very important to them. But they also understand that self-respect is equally as important. They will work very hard to get their own way. They are honest and truthful, and they like to get everything out in the open if there is discord. Leo is a proud sign and prone to discouragement when something goes wrong. Respect is very important to the Leo, and if they lose respect, the respect of those they love, they're anxious. They get very sensitive there. They become anxious without that respect. Now, stress triggers for Leo. If you try to teach Leo something they don't know or have little knowledge of, or if you ignore them, or forget to introduce them, or do not acknowledge or respect them when they have done something really well, they will become anxious and stressed because they want respect. When they have committed to a meeting and they are running late, they get anxious and stressed because they feel they are letting others down. Leo is the proudest sign of all, and it's pretty noble and upstanding. It's the royal sign, you could say, but it wants respect. And so if a job, for instance, they don't get respect, they feel stressed and they work harder. So it's the Leo pride on the one hand. They're very giving, they're very loving, and they are magnanimous characters, but they have to have that respect. And if you put them down in any way, when they think they've done exceptionally well, they get very anxious at that very energy, you know. And so they are really, though, prone to, when they do get stressed, they get a lot of backache down that spine. And so that is a sign, you know, that stress levels are going up. But they do like to recognition. And
I notice they carry, I suppose, like a lion, the tension is in the back of the spine and the shoulder, and a very stiff kind of, when there's stress.
Very stiff.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, I think most of us in today's world, it's a Gemini thing, where if you get tense, it's the shoulders, and you get so much across the shoulders. But I'm finding more and more people anyway get it across the shoulders simply because of our computers, you know.
Well, and because I haven't got mine here, but, you know, everyone's getting osteopaths and things are saying about the iPhone neck, you know, turning into turtles, because everybody's always everybody's always like that.
My elderly friends, you know, drop your shoulders because their shoulders go right up and then the back stoops. And my was a military man, and he used bamboo cane behind our arms when we were kids, and we used to have to line up for breakfast just like you were in the army. And that lives with me today. I stand up straight, and I really do. For my age, I do not have one sign of back problem.
So just back to Leo, so if their triggers are around respect and sort of a certain level of being in control and being wanting to make others, or to be seen as making others proud of them and acknowledgement, you don't always get that, right? So what are they to do?
Well, I mean, things that they get stressed inside. You don't see how they feel. For instance, if you walked into a Leo's home, for instance, and they decorate, because they love beautiful things, and they decorated it, and it looks really lovely, and then you say, oh, I wouldn't have put those curtains up there. It doesn't quite match that. They might have a go at you, actually, or say, well, or they would be left feeling annoyed with you and just a little bit stressed out. Now, in the workforce, if they've done a very good job and they've got a boss and they think they've done a good job and they're not recognised or even praised, because it's praiseworthy, they love praise, they will walk away and they'll feel stressed and they'll wonder why, what went wrong there, why weren't they praised, recognised, you know?
So and what's a Leo to do to manage their anxiety or stress?
Well, to manage the anxiety, you can't please everybody all the time. And as I say, as long as you're very happy with what you have, you don't listen to what other people's opinions are and take them on board.
See, it reminds me of Coco Chanel. So in my book, The Art of Success, where I talk about Coco Chanel, she said, so she was a Leo, you know, and she did take criticism to heart, but she developed a very strong persona where she would say, I don't care what you think. I don't think about you at all.
I love that. And another thing is, I say the antidote would be self-love, because in the end, if you love yourself, well, you've got a life.
Yes, that's lovely. Yeah.
Said that last time, quite sharp.
And that's one of the things I talk about in my book, Boost Your Self-Esteem and Confidence. That's the only thing you do have control over, isn't it? Your respect, your esteem, your valuing of yourself.
Yes, and I think the moment that you start self-doubt, you go downhill. It's a matter of really not self-doubt, it's just loving yourself, doing the best you can, accepting yourself, and the minute you undermine yourself, I think you're in trouble. You've got to keep control of the self.
And what you say to yourself.
The thing is, the sun is a light, and it is, you walk in your own light, your own essence. And if I were Leo and I love praise and you didn't praise me, for instance, and I thought, she didn't praise me, I wonder what I did wrong. Oh gosh, I won't be doing that again. Oh, I could take that inwards, and that would be a silly thing to do. What I can do is love myself, but I did my best.
Or say, do they not know who I am?
What I do, and so no, it's really.
Do you not realise? So okay, let's move on to who are we on after the beautiful lion.
Now Virgo traditionally is the most sign. Virgo is the most worrying sign.
The perfectionist, they say.
Absolutely. They read books. Like we use toilet paper. Excuse us.
Yes, can you use a different one, please?
But anyway, Virgo rules really the stomach and the bowels. Hey, I said toilet paper, but it rules the bowels, the intestines, and the abdomen. And here, this is what Virgo does. Virgo thinks too much and pays too much attention to detail. They can be overcritical of themselves and also of others in their working environment, because Virgo rules work and health. Indeed, it does rule health. They usually do keep a good diet. They try not to put on too much weight, so they but their biggest source of stress is not being able to rest with their over worrisome thoughts. They should make lists, but they do. I know a lot of Virgos, they make lists, but they should make lists or take notes to keep track of their day-to-day duties and tasks. just writing things down will be a relief to them. Virgo has a habit of constantly thinking and worrying about every aspect of their work and personal life when things go wrong. And inasmuch as they are very critical of themselves, they are perfectionists. Things very often do go wrong because you can't be perfect all the time.
No.
This habit can lead to sleepless nights with little rest. Therefore, their stress levels can increase because of that, which can affect their health. Virgo is prone to thinking of itself in the worst possible case scenario, which of course would never happen, but that's how they think. Now, stress triggers for Virgo is if you lose one of their important books or lists, or mess up their homes, or walk with, I did this once to a Virgo, or walk in with mud on your shoes over their nice new carpet.
Oh.
I don't like it at all.
Oh, no. Who would? Naughty Marianne.
I agree with you, I agree with
But
you.
they're renowned for loving their cleanliness, aren't they, Virgos?
Yeah, they like everything. I mean, a Virgo, I've spoken to many of them, if you've got a crooked picture on your wall, they've got to straighten it. You know, they see everything, well, in diagonals and horizontals, and it's got to be exactly perfect and right angles and all the rest of it. And so, yes, and in their daily life, you know, in their homes, they dust things. I think that a lot of the, what is that thing called, Cassandra, where you, obsessive
Compulsive disorder.
Yeah, that one. That Virgo would do that. You know, it's obsessive. So,
which is a great strength in some environments, isn't it? You know, I know somebody who made a job of being one of those hotel inspectors. So, you know, they wanted flawless reviews, so she would go in and do the pre-assessment and straighten the pictures and, you know, paid to infinite detail, you know, all the little things that were wrong so that people had a beautiful experience, which is what we love about astrology, isn't it? Everyone has their place, but they also have their Achilles heel to be mindful of. And
I think also, you know, good editors, good critiques are Virgos. I mean, you get a lot of proofreaders under that sign to take
right. Yeah, good point.
For people's mistakes.
Oh, they'll be busy in the self-publishing industry then, you know, it's a gold mine for them.
Yeah. Anyway, so here is where they get inwardly very critical of themselves, always critical of themselves, anxious and stressed. And really, what they should learn to do is, if they made a shopping list, take it to the shops, because the minute they make a shopping list and forget to take it to the shops, they get stressed out because they haven't got the shopping list to go and buy the shopping. Now, these things might not annoy you and I, but they do the Virgo, you know. So the stress levels here, I think, is to accept sometimes to have a messy room or things not in their place, or maybe the filing cabinet is out of order and you've got, you know, this filed under something else, or somebody else has done it for you incorrectly, to just, well, put it back, don't worry about it, you know. It's the criticism that I think takes a gain, because it's always one thing. Virgo will criticise itself, and that is undermining. And the minute you start putting yourself down, and then other people pick up on it, energy is quite, you know, people can pick up an energy, and other people will pick up on it, and then they will feed that energy. So the Virgo can then really worry about itself. It's the sleepless nights because they can't turn the mind off at all. And so they need to relax, go to meditation, yoga, things like that, to teach them how to relax. Now we come on to Libra. Now Libra rules the waist, navel cavity, lumbar region, that's the lower, the kidneys, and again the skin. Now here is where Libra is a friendship, partnership sign, and it doesn't like to be treated unfairly. They tend to spend too much time thinking about whether or not to confront unfair people, instead of simply talking the matter out at the time. Libra has difficulty understanding why people are so unfair. They like to mediate the situation to everyone's advantage because it is a fair, honest and just sign. However, not everyone is motivated by the same outcome. Sometimes it is okay to accept situations as they are because it's not worth the stress in trying to change things, especially if those around them are not likely to change. If everyone they love, putting them in a case scenario, if everyone they love is yelling at each other or not talking to each other, they will try to mediate the situation, but they will feel worried underneath and stressed. A stressful situation for Libra is in making decisions. Now, stress triggers for Libra when you're with a friend now, this Librian. When a decision has to be made between you and your Libra friend, just say to your Libra friend, you make the decision, it's up to you. And then you could, if that doesn't work, to give them a bit of stress, you can take them to ugly places.
Ugly places.
Manner in public or make a scene around them, which is discord and aggression. Hey, and they won't like it.
No.
Then they feel anxious and stressed. And so their psychology or the way they look, their life path, their conscious awareness of the world is really in friendship, in partnership, in peace. And let's all get along together. And the minute discord sets in, they get stressed. And so the thing there is really you can't please everybody all the time. And so, and sometimes if a matter cannot be mediated, then why stress yourself out worrying about the fact that there is aggression around you? Find your own place of peace and let it affect you. And who cares what other people think of you? It doesn't matter, because why, that's stressing you out again. And it's a matter of taking control, of these areas that are your Achilles heel or the Libra Achilles heel. To take control. And so that's Libra.
I think what you've said too about, and it probably applies for all the signs, that, to regain that control and to do what you can to alter your space or your environment. Or so for me, if there's too much drama going on, I'll go outside and work, or it's the beauty of a laptop, or I'll go to my shed, which is an artist shed, so it doesn't have structure and order, which I don't crave, but my partner does crave. So that's my space. It's my woman's shed. You
have definitely got the balance, because the other side, you've got a bit of brilliant balance, because Libra is the sign of balance. And you've got, so if you can control by balancing your lives against the different energies around you, and say, for instance, take off into the shed in the peace and the quiet and tranquility of that beautiful
it's
place.
Lovely. But I know for I think my partner, who tends to be a little bit more like a Virgo in some aspects, he'll go in and he'll actually feel it anxious, have an anxiety attack just looking at the things that aren't necessary in an orderly sequence, Yeah.
Well, he's Gemini, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, Virgo and Gemini, they're both mutable signs, and they both have overactive minds.
Ah, right.
And we've got the 4 of them at the moment. Those signs are going through probably the worst at the moment. They've got Saturn in their cycle, they've got Neptune in their cycle. And so it's very bad. These signs are going through a lot more stress than the other signs.
Virgo and Gemini.
Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Sagittarius, Gemini,
Virgo.
Pisces, and Virgo are going through, stress. And it's easy born, because Saturn at the moment is about 26 degrees of Sagittarius. And so if you're born around about the 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, because it goes backwards and forwards, of any one of those signs, so if you're born on the 19th, say, of September, or 14th, 19th of September, you're going through stress, a little bit of depression, but you can't be too much of a perfectionist. It's just that you want things done, if you Virgo, at that time, not your way, but the perfect way, but you keep on getting let down. And so you say something, but you find that you don't get the right service, say, or you're constantly making arrangements, but things go wrong, and then that's where the stress sets in, where you start undermining yourself, and you pull yourself down and think it's you that's causing this when it's not. It's the incompetent people around you. No, I see it. But so, you know, the Saturn is, though, hitting the mutable signs. And so we come into the sign of Scorpio.
It's opening my window.
We come into the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the urinary and sexual organs, the pelvic bones, the bladder, and the anus. Now, these people very often, you know, seem to have a lot of urinary infections as well. But Scorpio, when it comes to stress and anxiety, Scorpio is in fact as a water sign, and it is a sensitive sign, and they can feel tense and nervous without privacy. They make sure they take time out for themselves because they are secretive about their inner life, and they care about their own comfort zone and well-being. They act with power. It's actually one of the most passionate of the signs. Well, it is the most passionate. So they act with power, but once power is lost, passion ceases, and anxiety sets in. When left alone and in their own time, they will rejuvenate, because there's no sign that can rejuvenate as quickly as Scorpio. They think themselves out of situations as well. They've got massive inner resources too. Underneath, they crave deep love. And when the people they love do not show them love, they become deeply hurt. So stress triggers for Scorpio, remembering that they like people that they love, if you like, passionately. When those people, it could be family members, it could be children, but when love fails at certain times, they become so hurt. But the triggers are, if they're invited to a group and they don't know anyone in that group, they won't want to go because they won't have love around them. The thought sends them into stress. The unknown causes fear. They like to be in control. They like to know each step what is going on. They're actually the greatest psychologists and detectives of all time because they're ear to the ground and they know what's going on and they do it secretly. And so that's why they make the most brilliant police, investigators, whatever. You know, they're snoops, but they're not doing that to be mean. This is the way they live. It's their path. And so the unknown does cause fear, so they make sure they know what's going on behind their back. But if they are forced into uncompromising positions and they don't know all the details, all the facts, they start to feel uncomfortable because they're used to knowing and still feel uncomfortable, and then they can become anxious and stressed. And so they are, I think, of all the signs in the zodiac, they're the greatest psychologists. There's no two ways about that. But they know what's going on behind their back, and they do it in cleverest ways. But they do know. But if they don't know, then comes the stress. What's behind my back? And I find out stress levels. But does it really matter? But it does to the Scorpio. And so, I'm going to say they should learn peace within meditation. That's really good as well.
So I'm wondering, what we might do is we'll break this. How many more star signs have we got?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so if we will stop the recording and do another one straight away, but we'll just stop this recording and then we'll do, who have we got left?
I've got Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces.
Lovely, cool, all right. And that'll mean that it's easy for people just to sneak in and have a look at theirs or the relevant one. So that's 8 of the star signs. So tune in, we're going to come straight back and we're going to look at the remaining 4 with Marianne O'Hagan, astrologer.
Ah.